Hello, and another episode. I've done this for 2 weeks in a row. I'm not used to this. I'm usually doing a few weeks in between, but another episode of Loose Lips with Liku, episode 5, and another brilliant guest this week. Another good friend of mine that really looked after me when I was at Leeds. He's had a really brilliant career in rugby league, and he's now in the big bad world of teaching. So no introductions needed. He's a lovely lad, and I really get on with him. Good friend of last week's guest, Martin Ridgard. This week, it probably is. They're like brothers, these two, I would say. So, the one and only Mr. Gregg McNally. Greg, how you doing, lad?
I'm all right, how are you?
I'm all good, mate. I'm all good.
I wouldn't say we're more, I think more chuckle brothers than brothers, I think, between me and Ridden.
I was going to say definite chuckle brothers. You are I would say, the Cumbrian Irish Lather these days.
Yeah, I think I've lived in every county possible. I've done a stint in Lancashire, I've done a stint in Yorkshire, obviously born in Cumbria. I'm probably due a move to London or somewhere like that. Somewhere soon, I don't know.
Nah, keep up north, lad. Best place to
No,
be.
definitely.
So,
Like it.
obviously played yesterday. Good result, was it? I believe again.
Yeah, I didn't play, but it was a good result. They were tough. White of them were good. They were down to the bare 17. And they all came and they had a good goal. They had no halfbacks. I think you'd have probably done a good job at halfback there.
I'll dust my boots off.
You can come back and play still. But no, they had a good go. We just had enough. We went for a bit of a purple patch in the second half, 10 or 15 minutes, pulled away, and we tried to get it back at the end. But luckily, Hooter came at the right time for us, and just about taking wins off at this stage of the season. So we're trying to get in that top four. We're basically playing knockout rugby already because we can't afford to lose. So we're in that. Every game's a cup final stage already. So there's 4 games to go, and hopefully we can get in that top 4 and playing them with lights.
It's almost a nice thing as well to play kind of a cup final every week, because you've got to be on it and you've got to be ready to go no matter what comes against you. Because I believe you got North Wales Crusaders coming up this week. Is that right?
Yeah, they got a bit of a shock defeat, and I thought Paul Anderson will say it's not, and Paul Wood will say it's not a shock result for Swinton, but I think everyone had probably tipped Crusaders to beat Swinton, and they've come away with a win. So we know that they're going to be trying to fire back and bounce back this weekend against us. So we'll have to be good because we can't afford any more slip ups, and we've got a tough run in. We've got Crusaders coming up this weekend, then we've got Workington away after a week off, which will be another tough game. It always is up there. And then we've got Dewsbury at home to finish off as well. We've also got Swinton away as well in that. So we've got a real tough period coming up, which is what we probably need, to be honest. I think we've had 3 games in 6 weeks, and it's been tough. It's been in and out, stop and start, but this league very much. But this now is coming to business end. It's good for us because it's week on week, and if we get 1 week off, but that's it, and it'll do us good going into the playoffs, hopefully, if we finish there.
Yeah, 100%. And I think obviously yourselves and, like I said, the teams you've already mentioned, they're all pushing for that up in the championship, and it's probably a bit all up in the air at the minute with obviously what's happening from the top and then working its way down. But obviously you guys just do what you've got to do to get into that top 4, to then get to the championship.
Yeah, definitely. It's just we can only control what we can control, and I'm a big believer on that, especially at rugby and at work. You can only control what you can control. So we'll just concentrate on ourselves and turn up every weekend, giving a good account of ourselves. And if it is enough, it's great. If it's not enough, well, we have to go back to the drawing board and look at next year and going forward.
No, love it, mate. Love it. Right. As we both know, we're obviously teachers, and I always like to go back with every guest I have on. I always like to go back to when you were a high school pupil. So, year 7, little Gregg McNally. What does he look like at Whitehaven School?
He had blonde highlights. He took the brave decision to go into school on day 1 with his fringe up, and normally had his fringe down to try and fit in with everyone. He was very nervous and all that. I had quite a few mates who were older. Had a bit of an older generation that used to knock around on me where I grew up. My brother was he was in 6th form at the time at the same school, so I had a bit of, if anyone started, I knew I'd just go and see my brother or my mates, and they'd sort it for me. But it was good. It was daunting, very daunting. And I think that's still not changed now for people that move up from primary school to secondary. It is a very daunting time of your life, because you're going from a class of 30 that you're in every day, then now you're going to, what was it, 12, 15 different classes a day sometimes in a week. So, and there were all the different people in. So it was very daunting, but it was good. And met some really good friends, still lifelong friends with them now. Obviously, I've moved away, but I'm in touch with them quite a lot. And yeah, I wasn't the best at school. There was a bit of chatting and not doing as I'm told. more of a, I'm going to be well, at the time I was going to be a footballer. I didn't need education. I was going to be a footballer. I think it was year 7. I'd just finished. I was at Blackburn Rovers, and because I lived outside the 1.5 hour cut off that they had travel time, it was 2.5 hours from Whitehaven, and I couldn't travel, so they had to let go of me. So my claim to fame is I wore a Blackburn Rovers kit playing at Ewood Park, and I scored from left back, and I've never been a left back in my life. But that's my claim to fame. And then I ended up going and in year 7, between 7 and 9, I was at Carlisle United playing. And it wasn't until year 9 really that I decided I was going to play rugby. Well, I was playing rugby. It was more I was going to concentrate on that instead of football.
I never knew that. So footballer in the mist. So I know. Is it Harry's? Harry's a really good footballer, from what I see.
Harry's a good footballer. Bella is, to be fair, Bella plays football with the lads, and she loves it because she just kicks everyone. She said, in a fair way, she's sly with it. She's very sly, but she'd rather play with the boys and the girls because she sees it as a challenge. And every time someone comes up against her, they'll go, "They've got a girl in this team," and she's one of the better players on the team. She plays right back. No one gets past her. She had trials at United as well, which she enjoyed, but it wasn't quite what she thought it was going to be. So she didn't enjoy it as much. But I said, "There's no pressure, and just let her play." But she plays rugby as well, and Harry plays both. So Harry's got a lovely right foot on him. I know that. I don't know where he gets it from. Not from me.
All over the rugby league pages. So she's scoring tries left, right, and centre for Bedford. So
I know.
Let her do that. That's fine.
She's taking all my fame. No one knows me as Gregg McNally. You just know me as Bella McNally and Harry McNally's dad.
I love it. So, how did you progress? How did you feel like you progressed through school? So, from that nervous, like blonde streak year 7 to kind of that end of year 11, how did you feel like you progressed through that time?
Hairstyle wise, we'll start with that again because that was a bit of a theme in high school as well. I had every single David Beckham hairstyle.
Nice.
I had the Mohican, I had the blonde streak. At one point, I even went for, I don't even remember Danny Brough when he won the Challenge Cup with Hull FC, and he had that blonde streak that went all the way around and round.
Yes.
I had that at one point, looked like a skunk. So my hairstyles were very weird at school. But
you didn't have the cornrows, did you?
You what? Sorry.
You didn't have the cornrows like
no. I wasn't quite cool enough for that. But I had everything else. I shaved my hair and everything like him. No, but through school, I progressed all right. I had this mindset now, and I'd say it all the time to kids that I teach now that we don't. I always had well, you don't need education. You can go get a job yourself. And I found out the hard way, especially after rugby. You know, mid rugby career, found out the hard way. If you don't do what you need to do at school, then you've got to catch up and do that. And unfortunately for me, I had to do that. I've had to spend some time and do some courses and do some catching up on English, for example, that I just kind of thought I don't need. But you need it in life, and it's just trying to drill that message into people that obviously the students at our school now that are teaching and all the kids as well in general at rugby, they're all very much like, oh, I want to be a professional rugby player and I'm going to earn 300 grand a year like Sam Tompkins did. And it's not like that. Rugby, it's not. Football's the same. I've had friends and families who have been playing at Man City and they can get cut at any time. It's like they've moved over to a different area just to make sure he makes it, but he could get cut at any time and one injury away from not playing. So it's important for your education, and I struggle with that going through school because I didn't see the novelty of school for me was going and causing a bit of havoc with my friends and having a laugh. That was how I seen school, and I'd like to pass that knowledge on to people now. So it's from me them learning from my mistakes and trying to help. I did all right in my exams. I realised that FIFA, whatever it was out at that time, I had to take a backward step for 4 weeks while study leave was on and trying to revise for my GCSEs. But I didn't know if I ended up getting from year 11, I ended up getting to sixth form at the same school. But again, I made my debut at Whitehaven and education took a backward step and I didn't need it then.
No, it almost kind of sounds similar to myself in terms of I was at Sale at the time, and I kind of, especially that back end, that TA 10, year 11, I was kind of like, I'm, I'm kind of going to be a professional rugby player. I'm going to be fine. Like, I'm
Yeah,
going to play for Sale. I'm going to play for England. I'm like, you're being told all this different stuff. And then, like you say, you get cut at any point. And like I said, I'll just digress a little bit. I remember being cut just before my first GCSE. So I
yeah,
literally, I had to kind of really knuckle down and then kind of get my head in the game. And then I was quite lucky enough that I think you might have been at Lee at the time when Rolls saw me at Sports Village and just went, go and sign for our 16s. And it was just
yeah,
mad. Like, but yeah, like I'm the exact same as yourself. Like the message of the education has got to be at the forefront because you're one injury away, or as much as we want. I know I'll speak on both of our behalf. We want our students to go and have brilliant, successful careers, especially in sport. But the one injury away, or the one kind of, like I say, cut away from being like almost having to go get into that real world and find a job that suits them, and which means that they can have a successful life as well.
yeah, 100%. I agree. I was luckily enough. When I made my debut at Whitehaven, I ended up signing at Huddersfield and was full time. And then when I left Huddersfield, I was petrified. I had to find a job. I was like, well, I'm going to go part time at Lee, but that's not going to pay my bills. And I've got to travel from Huddersfield. I'm going to pay for my car. And luckily, Rosie's mum worked at what's it called now? I forgot what it's called. The Young Offenders Prison in Wetherby. And I worked in the education department. I only had doing admin. It was just my first bit of taste of education. Really, it was a bit of an eye opener because it was in a young offenders prison. Basically, it was. I think it was 14 to 18-year-olds went to that prison, and then they went from there to an adult prison. Terrified me. Not just the prison, but working terrified me. Not being told. It's the routine. You know, you have to get up at 8 o'clock, and you're in for protein shakes and check in with your physio at 8:30, 9 o'clock, and then you've got video from 9 till 9:30, and then you've got 15 minutes to get to the field, and this is how your day looks. Brilliant. I love that. It's a
Yeah,
bit, they all say about when people come out of the army and the struggle because they're regimented and they know when they need to do things and what time they need to be here and that. I struggled with that originally because although I had to be in work for 8:30, I didn't know what I was going to be doing when I got there. But whereas when at rugby life, you know exactly what you're doing. You're on a field, you're going to do, your Wednesday, whatever, before a game is probably going to be defence because you've got more time to recover. Then your Thursday, whatever it is, going to be attack, and you know exactly what you're doing. But you terrified me, and that's what I think going into the big bad world, as we call it, that's what people need to prepare for because it's not all plain sailing, and you get setbacks in that as well.
no, because I remember I think that's why almost, especially like us. I know I speak for probably more rugby lads than anything, that they like that, like you said, that kind of regimented, that routine of, exactly what you're doing, where you're going to be. The only thing that probably changes is kind of what's done on what day. So, for example, if you've got a game day on a Friday, your defence session might get pushed back to a Tuesday instead of a Wednesday, or if you're Sunday, then because I know obviously at Lee it was a Sunday game, so you
Yeah.
kind of had that, what you're doing what day, and it would have been nice. But then, like I say, going into the real world, you don't know what your day is going to look like. I know probably as teachers now we don't know what our day is going to look like. No
No.
lessons we've got, but
Yeah. It's the thing is that I see a lot of similarities between teaching and rugby. It's obviously you get your timetables, you know what class you teach, you don't know who's going to be in it and what's going to happen in that time, but you've got an idea. It's kind of there's your day set out for you, so you're just going to be, well, I just need to be in this place at that time and do this, and I see a lot of similarities between it, and it's not and I always thought teachers when I was growing up, I always thought teachers were very snobby, and I used to think, what do they do in a spare time? What do they do when they're not teaching? They just sit there and read books and be boring, but they're human beings and they have a laugh. We all have a laugh, and we at work, at my school I work at, we at the end of the day, sometimes we'll just sit for 10 or 15 minutes when we're having our break, having a coffee together, and just having a laugh about the day, just laughing about stupid things that's happened. And everyone's human beings, and you don't think that when you're at school. You just think, well, he told me off today and give me a C1, a C2, a C3, give me the attention, and he must go home and he must be horrible to his kids because he must give them detention as well. But they don't, because they're human beings. And when at the time when you lose it in school and you start shouting or you say something to someone as a kid and you're thinking, well, he's a, you know what, he deserves that teacher. But they're actually adults and they've got families and they care and they're in there for the right reason. Like that's why I make a big thing about that, saying that when obviously we get dysregulated kids all the time at schools, and when they have a go at me, I've got thick skin. I've played at featherweight and I've been stood on the back fence and they've been calling me every name under the sun. So whatever someone in between year 9 and 11 calls me, it doesn't really bother me. So when they're going off on one, I'm kind of like, yeah, just unleash it. Come on, tell me everything. Mention my grey hair. Everyone mentions my grey hair. Come on, let it all out. And then they actually respect you after that. Because when I did that at school, if I let loose at a teacher, it's straight away out. But at our school, we've got this understanding with the kids, and there's a line, and if they overstep the line, yeah, that you're in trouble for that. But we understand why they get to that point, and that's what I like about it, because you can do that in a rugby room. If you're doing a video room, like Rolls used to absolutely blow my legs off, blow Riddy's legs off, blow Ryan Briley's legs off for not playing his play, and we'd have a go back and we'd say, well, this is this and this is that, and it's good because you need to confront. And we do it at work all the time. Because I'm deputy head of my school, so staff will challenge me because there's no like I'm deputy head and they're a teacher. It's very much we're all on one level. We challenge each other. If it's not good enough, we challenge each other, and it's very much like I've taken that from rugby to make sure that no one knows there's no hierarchy in rugby. There's no hierarchy at school, in our school, and it's very much challenge. If you're not happy with something, challenge it, because we all just want to get better. That's in life, and as a person, as families, we all just want to get better. We have to challenge each other, and that's what I make a big thing of as well.
That's beautiful. Honestly, listening to that, I was like, I'm just to see myself on the screen, I'm nodding of everything you're saying in terms of kind of the hierarchy and the challenge and the similarities, and like it was lovely to hear, mate. Honestly, it was brilliant. Go on then, back to being at Whitehaven School then. Who was Gregg McNally's favourite teachers?
Of course, the PE teachers. They were always my favourite teachers. The only subject I really enjoyed, and it's strange, but I love geography. I absolutely love geography.
What is it with rugby players and geography? Because I was the same. You, Riddy, Danny Walker threw history out there as well.
Yeah.
What is it about humanities and rugby players?
I don't know. I loved it. I actually teach it now, and I do two lessons a week on it, and I love it. But I used to love it because it was a lot of coursework based. It was easy, and there was one test. It was all coursework, and obviously, when living in Cumbria at the time, or whatever, we were 20, 30 minutes away from Buttermere Lake, and that's where we went and done all our pictures and all our whatever, the quarries and mountains and whatever they call them. Can't remember them now, but that's how much I enjoyed geography. It's me saying I loved it, and I can't even remember any of it. Those streams, and we went and just took loads of photos. I don't actually remember. And I will cry my eyes out of this, and I'm not ashamed to say this. So the night before my coursework was due in for year 11, my computer broke, and it got rid of everything. Lost all my pictures. I lost all my. I think you got to write so many thousand words, and I lost everything, and I was crying my eyes out. Luckily, school had backed it up, and I didn't realise. But one of my teachers at the time, who I actually thought was a bit of a Yeah, he actually helped me out, and he actually backed everything up, so I was absolutely buzzing. But so I had that, but my favourite teachers, obviously the PE ones. I used to remember Mr. Gaffney, and I still call him Sir now. He's always trying to drag me down and play Whitehaven Rugby Union. The number 10 shirt's waiting for me, fly half, and he was my favourite teacher because he used to have this thing where he used to come in as soon as he walked into the change rooms to take the register, everyone knew. Like he had that aura about him there. He knew as soon as he come in, everyone just went boom. But if you get the odd ones who are like, I don't really want to do PE, so I'm going to carry on talking and try and get kicked out. And he'll just sit there and he'll just tap his pen on his register, and you're looking around. We're all giggling because we know what's coming. And he'll go, Greg. And I'll go, yes, sir. And he'll go, what time is it? And I'll go, oh, I've not got a watch on, sir. He'll go, I know what time it's time to be quiet. And he used to say that all the time, and everyone used to laugh. And it was the most pointless thing, but everyone used to just calm down. But then we used to play rugby union, and he used to have a thing. every time I'm not a rugby union specialist, but every time I was at Ruck and Mall, he used to just shout, "Get in and help him!" all the time. He used to shout in a proper weird accent, and everyone used to just laugh their heads off and couldn't. So we were playing a game, we're playing the County Cup final. He starts shouting it, and everyone just stops and laughs. And we end up conceding because I think someone picked it up from a Mall and scored. But he was definitely my favourite teacher. He's actually a really good friend of the family now as well. My dad's really good friends with him, and all my mates, so my mate played at the cricket club, which is right next to the rugby union ground at Whitehaven, and we used to go there when we were 17, 18. We were in sixth form, and he knew we weren't old enough. And he used to go in there and he used to keep saying to us, "You best be in school on Monday. You best be in my lesson on Monday." Obviously, we'd have a few beers and stuff like that. We're different back then, you know what it's like with safeguard and stuff these days. It's totally different, but as I've grown up and grown older, we've gone down. I've had a beer with him and stuff, and he's been brilliant, and he's supported me through my career. He's constantly messaged me and followed me, which is really nice. And it's a lot of it's down to him as well, because he progressed me in a bit of rugby union, but also in league. And I learned quite a lot from him in rugby union as well. I actually did a bit at Newcastle Falcons for 3 or 4 months. But I didn't really enjoy it because it wasn't the rugby league that I liked playing. It was all stop-start. And with your hands in your pockets like you do, Tal, and wiping your nose with your little handkerchief and stuff. We don't have that in rugby league. No, there's no pockets in our shorts.
Right.
But yeah, I learned a lot from him. And there was another one called Mr. Birkinshaw. He was I was disappointed because Mr. Gaffney never. It was year 7. He was our head coach, and then he moved to another year group, and we got Mr. Birkinshaw. I didn't like at first because he wasn't Mr. Gaffney, but he coached us through. We ended up winning the national final in year 11. We beat Mallet Lambert, I think, in Hull. They said Lambert Butler then.
I had a think about that actually. Was it something daft like you scored like quite a number of the points in that game?
Yeah, so I scored a hat-trick, and then I think it was 18 all in the last minute of the game, and I've put a bomb up, I've chased it, caught it, and give it James Donaldson, who was playing for us at the time. He was a year younger. If you look, the team we had back then, it was not. There's only a couple of us that got on to play, but like Carl Alstrom, he went and played first team at Whitehaven and work it, and he did a bit there. And James Donaldson's obviously gone on to do what he's done and had a fantastic career. But we had quite a good team at the time, and he scored in the last minute, and I had to kick the goal. We were getting beat 22-18, and I had to kick the goal in the last minute to win it. And I think we brought 4 coach loads down from all our year 11s. All our year 11s pupils had come down to watch us as well, and our mates. So it was good. But at Leeds Met, and it was fantastic. And from that, we ended up, luckily enough, we played in Serbia, represented England as it was England national team. It was meant to be the English national team, but they pulled out because I think they went to Australia. I don't know why they choose Australia over Serbia, but they chose to go to Australia instead. So we stayed in. We went to play in Serbia. Played against France national team, Serbia national team, Russia national team, Scotland national team as well in a bit of a mini tournament. We ended up winning it. We won the final 14-12. I actually scored all the points in that game as well, but I hate saying stuff like this, but I really enjoy it. But the French team, looking back, and I didn't know at the time, I didn't even know till about, I reckon probably when I was 24, 25, but Tony Gigot played for France. Eloi Pellissier played for France. I think Kevin Leroy played for France as well. And we were a school team. It had just been put together and went there for a week, and we had to pay our own way there. And we beat them 14-12 in Serbia. It was one of the weirdest, but one of the best weeks of my life. It was like walking around, bombs, buildings everywhere because obviously the war and stuff. They'd not rebuilt things. There were army tanks everywhere, and I'm thinking, oh my god, what am I doing here? In school, but I loved it.
That's class. That's brilliant. And just going back on what you were talking about, Mr. Gaffney and whatnot, in terms of, and I know if you like anybody who's anybody about Bedford, especially nowadays, probably when I was back at school, Bella will probably tell you about Mr. Drinnan, and he sounds exactly like Mr. Drinnan in terms of he used to have his one, and then he did it when I was at school, and he did it when he was helping me as well. He'd just keep looking at his watch constantly, just keep going, keep looking, and his favourite saying was, I'm earning some free money here now. I'm earning some free money while you lot talk. And everyone then would shut up because they'd like, oh God, Drinnan's going to lose it here. He's going to lose it. He would never lose it. You'd think he would lose it, but he'd never lose it. It's mad.
I remember going to first parents even at Bedford. Obviously, I'd heard a lot about him. And Bella said, we need to go and see Mr. Drinnan. And Harry was like, we need to go and see Mr. Drinnan. So I went, and obviously the first time I met him, and I spoke to him a lot since, because obviously Harry plays there and he coaches Harry's team. He's helped out with Bella's, and he's a great bloke. We went because Bella won the national final with year nines, and they went round LSV at half time, the OKR game, and Mr. Drinnan got me a ticket to come in and watch Bella walk around, which was very kind of him. I sat next to him, and he's very knowledgeable as well about rugby as well. And he's listening to him, because you think, like I had a couple of my PE teacher, Mr. Birkinshaw. As much as he's a nice fella, he had zero knowledge of rugby and just kind of he'd watched a few games. But you can tell Mr. Drinnan's very, very knowledgeable with it as well, which helps. Harry's come on leaps and bounds since he's coached him massively. And I can't thank him enough for that.
No, he's on it. Like I say, he's been like that, and I think he's obviously picked a load of things up from all different kind of people who've come in. So obviously, like I know Dean's been helping him out with the year 9 boys, and he's just, I think, like you say, his knowledge it goes under the radar, I think, a lot, especially at Bedford. And I think growing up and seeing it's mental.
Yeah,
like, the knowledge has helped him, and like I said, he's been successful now with the 2 teams that have been.
Yeah, it's the point, because I coached the under-13s girls at mine, Isabella's team, and I'll tell her something and she'll go, I'm not doing that. And then she'll come home from training at school and she'll go, Mr. Drinnan told me to do this. I went, yeah, I told you to do that 3 weeks ago, but you've not done it. Yeah, but I'll do it now because Mr. Drinnan's told me. And then did it with Sam when Dean was helping out. Dean told us to do this. So I went, yeah, well, we've been trying to coach you that for the last 3 weeks. Oh, well, I'll do it now.
It's mental, isn't it? Just a different voice just seems to work.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it?
Oh, mental. Right, rugby time, because this is obviously what you went into, and kind of when you finish your time, obviously in school, it was onto your hometown club, Whitehaven.
Yeah,
because there's the famous picture out there that if you've never seen this picture, guys, it's out there, and you will know it's Gregg straight away because the blonde streaks are there. It's 2004. It's a good friend of ours, Neil Turley, breaking Gregg's heart right in front of the TV cameras. And it's genuinely out there. And yeah, go on. Whitehaven, playing for your hometown club, what was that like?
It was brilliant. Like for the picture, the famous picture that comes up every now and again on Facebook when I know Paul Anderson and he ends up putting it on, or if I know Riddy and it's my birthday and Riddy will 100% put it on. It appears every time, but it generally broke my heart that night. I actually everyone in Whitehaven absolutely despises Lee just because of that game, just because I stopped them from going Super League. That's generally what it is. There's a hatred, and I never understood. And then when I used to go back with Lee, I used to think, why do they hate them so much? And then obviously realise it's because of the grand final. Because Lee were the best team that year by far. Whitehaven pushed them hard, and Whitehaven, to be fair, played really well in the final. I think it took Lee by surprise. And at that point, when there was 30 seconds left on the clock, and Turlsy stood 20 metres back like prime Nathan Cleary, ready to knock a drop goal over, I was thinking in my head, please miss, because I'm going to be on a scholarship with a Super League team, a 13, 14-year-old, and I want that. Thinking, that's my pathway now straight into Super League. And he kicked it, and if I could have got hold of him then, oh, he was skinny. I probably as skinny as him then, to be fair, but if I could have got hold of him, I don't know what I'd done with him. I was absolutely devastated. So, and obviously the teas and stuff, it was genuine, because I was absolutely heartbroken, and he got mentioned when I signed, and when I played there, the passion I had to play for my hometown club, because I knew my uncles, my cousins, my dad, my mum at the time, and my brother, and all the family were going to come and watch me, and it was the best feeling ever, because my granddad always wanted me, said, I want you to play for Whitehaven, lad, and I want to come watch him. I did that for my granddad, and unfortunately he was in the second. I think he'd watched me for 12 months at Whitehaven, and unfortunately he passed away, but he got to live his dream of watching me play for Whitehaven. So it was special. Even going back was special. I went back obviously just after COVID, and it was special putting that shirt back on again. And you still get them goosebumps when you run out. And I used to run around. I just remember running on at half time and kicking goals. And back in there, they had stewards, but the stewards never bothered you because your parents were watching game, and at half time they were having a break, and we were on field running around, making the pitch even worse because it was full of mud as it was. You know what Wyvern pitch is like? It's not like the LSV, is it? It's more like
It's
it's more like the marshes. So it just brought back loads of memories. And when I ran out there, obviously, I got. I like to say I got lucky against Salford because everything that went right possibly went right that night, and I couldn't. If you asked me to pick and choose what I want perfectly to go on my game, and perfectly choose what the result would be to my performance and stuff, I wouldn't even have chose that. I'd have been happy just playing well and getting through a game and maybe putting someone over for a try as an halfback. I was an old school halfback. I'm not a Riddy where I've developed that game more as I've gone on as a year, but I was more of probably a more Danny Brough, probably Danny Maguire time. I wouldn't create. I would more or less just
run, support
down the middle. And I'm thankful for that night because I had and it said on the Sky cameras actually, Tanny Manahera.
What a guy, Tanny Manahera. What a man.
Absolute legend of a bloke. And
What
if it
a
weren't
man.
for him as my halfback partner, I reckon I would have really struggled that night. But he just controlled it. We had a simple game plan. We called it A and B. We'd literally get tackled. We could play a block play to a middle, block play to my edge, and then we'd go back with a player. And I knew what I'd do. I'd get the ball in the second block. He'd do the first one, I'd do the second one, and I'd play something back. But it was always early ball to Tanny, and Tanny would do the hard work, and he'd do most of the kicking. And he just took everything off me, all the pressure off me. He just said, stick with me. He said, just listen to me, you'll be fine. And I remember every time I scored, he was one of the first over. And I think he was about 39 at the time. And he had grey hair, just like me now. But if it weren't for him, I don't think I would. Because I remember, because it was on Sky, and I remember Kells overlooks Whitehaven. Obviously, it's in a bit of a valley, the ground. And
Yeah.
I went from took my headphones on. I thought I need to go for a walk because it was half term at the time, and I was still at sixth form. And I remember sitting there going, I need to get out of the house. I'm in my head here. I keep thinking about this game. And I was that pumped up. If I ever played, I reckon I was pumped up like Adrian Morley was against the Aussies that time. I wouldn't have done that because I'm not tough enough to do that. But I felt that pumped up, and I was like, I need to go and get some. And I just remember keep looking, and I was coming. All the Sky vans were coming in, and they were putting all the commentary things up, and they knew when as soon as because the reserves were playing before, I had played for the week before, and then he could tell Tanny, he knew I was pumped, and I was. And he, all right? I said, yeah, I'm just nervous and pumped at the same time, and he just took me under his wing, and I can't thank him enough for that game. And Jed as well, God bless his soul. Obviously, he's not with us anymore, Jed Stokes, but he gave me an opportunity, and I was 18th man for about 6 weeks. And I never thought, and he just told me, come and be 18th man. I said, just get around the first team and just learn and get some experience. And it was one of the best things someone's ever done for me because I was 18th man against Wigan in the Challenge Cup. And Whitehaven played them and got beat 118-10, I think we got beat. And I've never run so fast with a cone in my entire life because I'd run on for it to kick off. And as soon as we kicked off, they were kicking off to Gazok and Paliacina, and they were breaking the line on the first tackle. And I was stood there with a cone walking off field at JJB at the time it was, at DW, thinking, oh my God, they're running straight at me at 100 mile an hour. As I was sprinting off, they were literally running past me. Past the Sam Tompkins, who was scored about try number 8 of the night because he scored about 8 tries on his debut. And I was just basically going up and down on halfway line, bringing cone on. But I learned, like, it just being there, and I kept thinking, that's unbelievable. Like, there was 8,000 on against Whitehaven in a Challenge Cup at Wigan. And I was thinking, on a Monday night as well, I want to be part of this. This is what I want to do. And I got closer and closer. And Jed pulled me in one night and just said, listen, we've got loads of injuries. He said, you ready? I think you're ready, but do you want to play? And I went, well, yeah, I do want to play. I'm not going to say no to you and turn it down. And he played me and Chris Smith, another young kid at the time at 9. And I think we had 4 kids that were under the age of 20. Played for us, and we beat Salford, who were unbeaten. Which Stu Littler keeps reminding me every time that if he was on my side of the field, I wouldn't have scored 3 tries. He said because he wouldn't be on the field because you'd have lost your head. Your head off. So we're lucky.
Good old Stu. Good old Stu
Yeah.
taking someone's head off. What a guy. Well, so then obviously I know you mentioned a little bit earlier that you then go from hometown club, glory in your debut, good season, and then Huddersfield come calling, full time, Super League. again, is that dream you've almost think is almost a case of dreams been achieved here?
Yeah, definitely. I was at just before I made my debut. I was actually on doing some. I wouldn't say a loan. It wasn't a loan or a dual reg at the time. It was more going training down with Leeds Rhinos. I was doing maybe every other week going down once. Well, every other week I was going down for one session. I was enjoying it. But then obviously I played at Whitehaven, and Whitehaven didn't want to let me go, which is fair enough. I had interest from OKR. I had Justin Morgan actually come to my house to actually talk to me about OKR, and big standout for that. My mum couldn't understand that he came to Whitehaven in a pair of jeans and a pair of flip flops, and my mum couldn't understand that. I said it's an Aussie thing. They all do it, but even I do it now. Walking around with sliders. But it was like I went down to visit OKR, and it was between OKR and Huddersfield, and in my head I'd signed at OKR. I was ready to say yes. He sold me the dream, Justin Morgan. He said, "We won't drip you in. We'll drip feed you in. We won't just put you straight in. We'll pull you in. We'll send you on loan." And Huddersfield were kind of, we want you to sign. And Nathan Brown had just started coaching at the time, and they were coming on the back of a bit of a bad season. So I was thinking there's more potential at OKR. But the only difference with that was it was 4 hours to OKR and it was 3 hours to Huddersfield from home. So I was a bit, am I going to be homesick? I was only 17 at the time. So I went down to visit Huddersfield. In my head, I was signed for OKR, and I walked around and I met two of the lads I went to Australia with the schoolboys, Michael Lawrence and Keil Carlisle. And I went, "Oh, you didn't realise you were here?" And they started talking to me, and they said, "Yeah, it's good here," and explain what Brownie were doing, because Brownie had just done a pre-season with them then. We're halfway through the pre-season, and he said, "No, it's brilliant. You'll really enjoy it." And from that day, I went to see OKR, but in my head, I'd already signed at Huddersfield, and that were it. But I've got a big regret from Huddersfield. Nothing major. It's more of as a young kid, if you get that opportunity, don't think you've made it. And I wasn't walking around with, I'm playing for Huddersfield Giants, I'm this, I'm that, because I only ended up playing one Super League game, and I did well on it, but unfortunately I didn't get any more opportunities, but I almost thought I was better than what I was, and I probably needed to come away from Huddersfield to ply my trade a bit more, because I did a 6 month at Oldham on loan in what was League One back then. Learned a lot off Martin Roden and Neil Roden, and Val was there, Val Bentley, he was there at the time, so they took me out under the wing. And then I did a spell at Barrow on dual registration when it first come in. But I look back on my time at Huddersfield and think I probably could have done a little bit more. It's a bit of a regret of mine that I don't like doing stuff like that and looking back and saying I didn't try. I tried, but I probably could have tried a little bit more.
I'm in there. I always think about that. Probably that's the same with me in terms of I'm loving this at the minute because it's kind of making me think as well, especially when I was at Lee, and like obviously I did the loan spell over at Oldham, and I remember you were one of the first ones that said to me, you gave me the first chant that Oldham do, and
yeah,
one of the first ones I got, Hemel Stags Away.
Give me a tea. I love my favourite chant.
Give me a tea. But yeah, I remember, and it just kind of all like resonates with me in terms of, like I say, I won't say it was a regret, because I don't want to look back and, like you say, you don't want to look back and kind of, but I think I could have done more. There's something else that I could have done, like whether it was an extra session in Fat Club with Fui and Gazok at the time, or whether it was going into the altitude chamber a little bit more on my own without Fui and without Gaz. But like I say, there's no regrets. I wouldn't even call it a regret. I just think it's that reflective nature of I probably could have done that a little bit more, but
just being a bit smarter in it. That's what it is.
Yeah,
a bit smarter. That's why I look back. It's not a regret. It could have been that bit smarter and did that extra session and push. Maybe there's times where I could have gone and challenged Nathan Brown, but in my head, I'd done nothing in the game. Why would I go and challenge an NRL coach who slapped Trent Barrett in the face? I get slapped in the face because who am I to challenge him? I remember they got to the Challenge Cup final. I was still on loan at Whitehaven at the time because I'd signed and gone back for a year to develop myself even more, and they gave me a gym plan and everything to work on. And I they got to the Challenge Cup final. It was everyone was going to go down. We're all going to get our black black pants. It was a black shirt and a grey tie. That's what we're all wearing. I don't know. It was a proper Aussie sort of outfit. And looking back now, I always think it's a bit like Liverpool when they wore them cream.
Oh, yes.
I think it was a bit like that for us. But the lads liked it, and it was Gregg, you can come down, you can be at Wembley with us, and I played on Whitehaven on a Sunday, and naively I lived in Whitehaven, I had a dentist in Whitehaven, didn't know how it worked in Super League, and didn't know the private healthcare and stuff. And I said, I'm gonna miss training tomorrow because I used to travel on a Monday morning or a Sunday night back to Huddersfield. And I said, I'm gonna miss training on a Monday because I've got a dentist appointment. I said I'd left a voicemail on Brownie's phone. Obviously, he must have been out or whatever he was doing, busy. I got into training on the Tuesday, got pulled in his office and got bollocked for it. But I knew no difference. It was kind of, I just thought, well, I've got a dentist appointment, I need to go. And it was like, rugby league's your life. You need to work around that now. So unfortunately, I didn't get to go to Wembley. I went as a fan,
yes,
fans, but I didn't get to go with the team. And at the time, I sulked. I did really sulk. I didn't show it, but I sulked at home. I thought, I don't want to go to Wembley. And I ended up walking around London and stuff and thinking, I don't want to be here. But looking back, it was a good learning curve as well, because it made me realise that you need to be 100% in this. If you're not 100% in it, that you just get palmed off. If you show that little bit of weakness, that's you gone. And looking back now, it's probably the best thing you probably could have done to me, because I realised when I left to go to league that I need to work hard. And he was the one that moved me. Actually, I was an halfback, and he moved me. He said to me, "You're going to play fullback." And my dad, we've been talking about it this weekend with my dad. We're going to be here together, and he said, "I didn't agree with it." I went, "I know you didn't agree with it." So I kept kicking you under the table, saying, "Shut up," because you kept saying, "You're not going to play fullback." And I'm like, "Dad, that is my boss, my head coach, telling me where I'm going to play, and I'll have to play there." And you're saying, no, he's an halfback because he played at Kells all his life as an halfback. And I'm like, "Dad, shut up." And I'm very thankful for him to do that, because I think he took my game on. I think if I played halfback and I stayed as an halfback, I don't think I'd have done what I've done, because the game had evolving, and my game was very much like a fullback as it was support playing. And I always think back now, if I knew what I knew back then, now, how to dig into the line properly and how to create space, I kept thinking, you'd be an absolute. I'd be playing Super League every week, but you don't know it at that time, and you need to go out and get that. And he helped me a lot, Nathan Brown, and I'll always be thankful for that. I know it didn't work out how I wanted to at Huddersfield and ended up leaving after 3 years, but only one appearance, first team appearance anyway. But I look back on my time, and like I say, not a regret, but it put me in good stead, and wise words and things just resonated in my head and changed me as a person and a player, to be honest.
Love that. And then probably the one club that you are probably synonymous with now in terms of Lee, and that was 2012, I want to say.
Yeah.
So like I said, it was around the time that I remember, like I said, Rolls basically told, he didn't actually say that I was actually goal kicking as well, to believe it or not.
Yeah, no, you can kick a goal.
Because I was playing rugby union as well, and I thought, I'll do a bit of goal kicking. And it was Rolls that he didn't actually say to me, would you like to? He just went, you're signing for Lee. You're signing for our 16s. I was like, yeah, all right then. So me and my old man ended up going down meeting Duffs, and Duffs basically just went, there you go, just sign there. I was like, Jesus Christ, I'm now at Lee. What the... But then, obviously, like you said, I think it was that kind of a time, and I think Riddy mentioned it last week in terms of you were starting to build some sort of, probably, I don't want to call it a dynasty, but it kind of was in a way, because I believe now that team, 2012, 2013, 14, 15, that kind of stretch that obviously you were at Lee at that time, is now probably what's the first step on the ladder. First rung on the ladder to get to where the Leopards are today in terms of with what Adrian Lamb's doing with the team and whatnot. Would you agree? Or
yeah, they were definitely, because obviously when I signed, I signed, and there was obviously a lot of financial troubles at the time. Obviously, Ian Millwood had just left, and Robbie Paul had just left, and they had no money. And I think we turned up to our first training session. It was pouring down. I had no training kit. Rolls was there, and I think we had about 6 players on trial. I think there was 12 of us all together, and it was like, what are we going to do? What are we doing here? But everyone bought in. Rolls, for as much flack as he takes sometimes. I know he's took a lot of flack since he left the club and things like that. But I see Rolls as the smartest coach and man that I've dealt with in rugby league. He's attention to detail. He's how to get his message across. There was very little times that Rolls would come in at half time and absolutely give it you. That's probably down to the fact that we were playing really well and we were winning every week, and he knew we didn't have to because we were better than, not being big-headed, but we were better than most teams, and he knew we could do that. But he's getting our message across, and his attention to detail, and then he had Andor there, who was very, very good with the attack as well. Simon Finnegan, he'd done a lot of work with our back five when he retired, because obviously he played until 2013 and then retired. I owe quite a lot to them 3 men for my career and what happened.
No, I'm inclined. I was around the club at that time. I'm inclined to agree, especially. Obviously, I worked a lot with Ando, as you know, and I owe Ando a lot of my opportunity as well. And I think, like you said, the 3 of them. I always think 3 of them were best man managers.
Yeah.
In terms of, they knew when to give you the kick up the backside. They knew when to kind of get your arm around you and be like I always remember Andor sent me home from training once because he just seen that I was flat out, I was burnt out, and he just went, "You just go home. Don't train today. Go home. Go and have a rest. I'll see you next Tuesday." And he gave me the week off. And I just think, but then there were times where, right, young toe, you've missed a tackle there. What's going on? Like, sort it out. This is not like you. And Finney was the exact same. And I know for a fact from when I've spoke to people about how Rolls was week in, week out, it was the exact same as well.
Yeah, it was brilliant. We used to call him, obviously we called him Kez's dad because him and Kez had this relationship that was borderline father and son, and we used to call him that. But he always had a funny thing with me that he used to love. I look back now and I actually regret it. I really, really, and I don't regret many things in rugby league, but I regret this. So I don't even remember. We played Summer Bash, and we played Fev in Gaz's first game or something like that.
Was it Mickey? Was it 2015?
Mickey's first game. That's who it was. And Liam Kay and Tom Armstrong and me and Ridley all come in, and we put Ben Blackmore into touch. And I'm over the top of him like this, and I'm screaming in his face because we were. I'm not going to say the word, but we were. Everyone hated us. We played a game at Halifax, and there was a fight. We were getting beat 24-0. We had a fight. We won 32-24 because the Reds fell off, and just things like that. We knew we have to do to turn the game, and we were horrible to play against. And I was screaming in his face. And I remember watching it back on TV, and Phil Clark's going, "I don't like that. That's in the spirit of the game." And that from that moment on, I thought, I don't like what I'm doing here. But Rolls used to love the fact that I was the most hated man. He used to call me the most hated man in rugby league at one point, and so Jamie had to run around tapping people on heads, and I was screaming in people's faces and getting under people's skin. And Rolls loved it. And I remember we went away at the end of the season. We won the championship in 2014. He sat down, we were having a beer, and he went, "I wish everyone hated me as much as they hate you, Greg." It's always stuck in my head, and I keep thinking, was I that hated? The fact that he was, but he was brilliant. Like Rolls, he brought my game on massively because of the way he played. There were no fear, and I was very much of, if I get the ball out of the back and I go ping it to a winger and it goes into touch or it's not right, a lot of players is right. I'm not going to do that next time. I'll just take the safe option. I'm very much, you roll a dice. You play rugby league to roll the dice, and if you're not entertaining and you're doing 5 drives kick, I've been at clubs and it's happened and I didn't like it. Boring rugby. My legs didn't like me now because it's catching up on me now because the amount of running that I used to do, and me, Riddy, and Kez used to be flying around the field like there was like 6 of us on it. But it just suited my game down, just throwing the ball around, enjoying yourself, expressing. You threw the ball 30 yards and it got intercepted and they got the ball. It was like, right, so what? You tried it. Unlucky. we'll try it. It'll come off next time. And I love that. That's what I love about roles. And I often get asked at BBC Radio Manchester to go and commentate on Salford games. I know they're struggling at the moment, but I used to love going and watching them because they play exactly the same way as we played at Lee. And he's always said to Riddy, because Riddy's asked to go down and watch a bit of coaching and stuff. And he says, if you come and play in this team, you'd know exactly what to do because he would play the exact same way. It's just amazing to watch, and you can tell. And I get why Kez has gone with him. Kez has followed him everywhere he went. Obviously, he went to Toronto. The family at the time, and I didn't want to go to Toronto and make that big effort. But it's I get why people follow him, want to play for him because he's an expensive stand of rugby as well.
Because I've had the conversation with a couple of students as well who are mad rugby fans, and they said like, "Oh, what's Paul?" I said the way Salford play, especially obviously 2024 when they had like the squad they had. I said they played exactly like we played at Lee, 10 years ago, because like I always remember the exit shape that no team would ever do. No team would ever look to do an exit shape, and obviously you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But we would do it, you'd do it, and it'd just work, and it just catch teams off guard, and then you'd have your outside backs that are like lightning.
Yeah.
And it just, like you said, like I say, it was no fear, and it was especially as a middle as well. The middles would play, and he wanted middles that played.
Yeah,
he loved it, that could play and pass and do all the kind of fancy stuff that your halfbacks can do because of that. And that's why I would say my best rugby was that time, because I just had freedom, could do what. And like you said, if you mess up, you go again. You go again.
Definitely. You got to roll the dice, and I still live and die by that now with rugby. And well, some coaches don't like it, but I'll never change because that's what's been inbred in me. Like I remember one session, and I don't remember the old legs play. So obviously you middles were having a bit of a cigarette, weren't you?
I love the legs play. Every time you get caught, legs, go on, legs it, that'll do.
But when he first brought it in, he went, "Riddy, you're going to get back. You're going to ping it to Kez, and then Kez is going to play a block play with me and Tom Armstrong or whatever it was, or Michael Platt on the edge." And I was like, "Yeah, further up the field, you're like, do you want to do it foot? No. If you take 10, do it in your 10." I'm like, "Oh." So I was like, "Is he right? Is he all right here?" But we did it.
Remember, it used to be off the kickoff, front row lays it, back rower takes it in. 3 middles are always in between the halfbacks, and I used to stand there, me thinking, I used to think I'd be like, I could do that pass dead easy. Why can I not do it?
There was so even like things like, and I see more and more teams do it now. There was many at the time, but like really catching off the kickoff, he'd say Fui would go to the line. He'd have one of his other props would lead. I'd come out the back.
Yes.
And we'd play straight away, and I'm thinking, but no one does it now because it's it's not safe. It's all about possession and just kicking ball long. No, fans come to watch the game to be excited, and Lee play a great brand of rugby at the moment. The throwing ball around, it's good to watch, and that's why it is good. Teams like that, that's why they're doing well, because you don't know what's coming.
No,
I know we had the same exit set, and we had it. It was the same way every time we did it, and no one could defend it still. But that's just because we were very good skill wise, and our detail were that good because of roles. He drilled it into us and detail. But a lot of coaches these days they're happy to play the play. Oh yeah, it looks good. You come out the back, you're out the back, but you're a man on man. Or sometimes it's 4-on-3 in defenders' favour. It's like you've not dug in, you've not created that extra bit of space, and taken a half a yard step of turning someone's hips in to play out the back. But roles was very much everything's. There's a reason why you. So you for example, if Ruddy runs across and goes to drop you off, if you run back towards the play the ball, who's that holding up? No one. If you run and hold an A up, you've done your job, and Ruddy might play the next hook. But everyone knew the role, and it was like you could go. Roles could literally stand on the field, and they'll just go right, get into rover shape, and everyone just go boom straight away rover shape, and everyone knew where they were running, what hole.
And it was nice as well because it was that kind of DNA went through the club. So we all knew, like, I remember when especially 2014, when we used to train against each other.
Yeah.
We knew the exit shape was coming. We still couldn't defend it because even though we knew what was happening, it was, like I said, that attention to detail and the rovers play and like all these it's like being in a playbook all over again. It's just coming right back.
It's my moment. Me and Riddy wrote the playbook for Rochdale this year, and we were like, we put this in. I went, we can't do that yet. Like Rovers, we had Rovers, we had Plus, we had what else? There was loads that we want to put in. But like even when he's going back then to say and training against you, lot, that helped us massively because even though you were running the same plays as us, we still couldn't defend it. So it was like looking back now, thinking. I used to fall off when I used to see like Mitch Cox running through and hitting the lead and getting ball, or Wardy getting the ball and going through. And I'm thinking, how are they breaking us down? They're only kids. The kids against grown men. How you break? But it's because everyone knew the detail and everyone knew the shape, and you can't defend it sometimes.
Yeah, and it was like I said, that's why obviously both teams were so successful at the time. And it was mega, and like I saw them it's all coming back to me. Like
I know it's my favourite time of my career. That. Probably 2012, even all the way to 2017. Even 2017 we got relegated. 2019 when I came back, and 2020. I absolutely love the club. It's like I treat this as Wyvern's my hometown club, and I'll always respect them and love them. But this is high class. This is my hometown as well, and I love it to pieces. And I want Lee to do well. If Lee are doing well, the town's buzzing, and Lee will always be a bit of a special place in my heart because that's where. My family have grown up. The kids love it here. I can't take the kids away from here because Bella's a massive Leopards fan now. She didn't like Lee when I left, but she now loves Leopards. And Harry's slowly getting to a Leopards. He got a T-shirt. He got a St Helens top off Vinted once, and he wanted to be a Saints fan. But I said, you can't do that around here, not anymore. They're not like St Helens fans by Lee. So, he's a Rochdale fan now. If you asked Harry, because obviously I play for them, but he don't support anyone. He's the only one in Lee that supports Rochdale.
Right.
And Andy Maisie as well. But I can't speak highly enough of the club. I absolutely, the top to bottom, like Derek coming in and doing what he did and funding us, and not a lot of people agree with Derek and what he's done. No one's going to agree with everything you do in your life. I didn't. Sometimes there's been occasions when I've not agreed with Derek, but it is what it is, and without him, the club would be. I don't even know where the club would be. So you've got his massive thanks to Derek when you look back at what he's done for the club and doing now as well. You'll never change Derek as much as people keep trying to change him. You'll never change him.
No.
Why would you change him? He's a character in the game, and the game's growing, and we need character in the game.
Correct, indeed. Like he was bold enough to change the club from a history of Centurions to Leopards, and the brand obviously got laughed at, and
I was one of them.
Thrown out.
I was one of them. I said I'm never wearing a leopard print, and then it was August time in 2022. Was it when they won the grand final?
Yeah, 23.
23. Sorry, yeah, when they won the Challenge Cup, and there's me in a head-to-toe in leopard print with Ando and Riddy and singing Lee songs in Box Park in Wembley and going to after party and stuff. It was. I never seen myself when he first said it, and I was like, "This will not kick off." Next minute, everyone's wearing leopard print.
Shandy Bass has got leopard print in his head.
And Shandy Bass has fully embraced it.
Love it. And then, obviously, like I said, Lee is, as you say, you speak so highly of Lee. And then you kind of, obviously, you go to a couple of different clubs, like back to Whitehaven, Oldham again. And then, obviously, now Rochdale almost seem to be kind of, I know Riddy, when I spoke to Riddy last week, he's loving that kind of full circle back round to League One. And again, I'm going to ask a question, are you kind of in the same boat as Riddy? Do you love the fact that it's just back to almost old-time rugby in terms of League One and being that part-time again?
Yeah, it all changed for me during COVID. Obviously, we were at Lee, and obviously we were furloughed, and we were training at home on our own. Weirdly, I was in the shape of my life training. I was doing 2 gym sessions. I had my own gym. I was using wheelie bins as squat racks, Bell and Harry's chairs as a bench press, and in the back garden. I'd been to Mickey's gym and got loads of stuff just before lockdown started. And I was we were allowed out for an hour, and I was training. We were doing running sessions, and I was in. If I played then, I'd have been one of the fittest, and I probably might have taken a carry as well, because I was quite strong.
Whoa, pause.
No, I reckon I'd have taken a carry. Just one.
One carrying game.
But I looked found a picture of it there, and I actually looked at and I took a picture because I was doing loads of squats. We were doing obviously heavy squats, and then we do banded squats and stuff, even at home. And I had quads, and I've never had quads in my life. And I thought, oh my god, I've got definition.
What's these?
I know exactly. I didn't even know I had muscles in my legs. But then obviously it went how it went, and it never started back up again after COVID, which was disappointing because I wanted to. That would have been my 9th year at the club, and I was hoping to get a testimonial. Unfortunately, I got one, but I was looking to get one at Lee, and it might have been a little bit different, ran differently than what I did on my own. But Lee didn't give me a contract, and I'd actually signed Ottawa races. I don't know if you remember them.
Oh, wow.
So I'd signed at Ottawa. Laurent Fresnio, I think I've said that right, the French coach, he was going to coach them. They were going to be based out of UCLan at Preston. They were going to be full-time in League One, and they were going to play the home games at LSV. And I met Dave Pete, and I said, Dave, why have you not signed the contract for me yet? Because they're playing at the LSV round the corner from me. I said, I don't need to go to Canada, and I'm playing for Ottawa. And then it came out they were going to go over maybe a couple of times, and that was it. The families were going to get a bit like sold the dream like Toronto.
Yes.
Sold the dream. A week before pre-season started, and we were all getting. We had a cracking team like Pat Moran, Ollie Ashall-Bolt, who's at Toulouse now. He were there. Tom Gilmore, Adam Lawton, Matty Fozzard. I'm trying to think who else was there. Sam Wilde. We had a right team. Jack Johnson. We had a right team to play League One. And now they'd all just left jobs, full-time jobs, ready for the week after. And we sat on a Zoom call with Eric Perez, who ended up taking over at Cornwall for a bit. And he said, "Oh, it's not going ahead." And I was sat there going, "Wow." Well, Lauren Fresno, I'd been in good contact with Lauren because the idea with me going there was to do a little bit of coaching with Lauren as well.
Yes.
That was my first stepping stone. And he liked the idea of having me on side. I think Weller Araki actually had come to think of it signed as well. So it was a pretty good team. And he kind of tipped me up saying it's not good news. We'll have to see what he says here. And basically that was October, and obviously everyone signs contracts in July, August, and come September, October, you're picking up pennies, and you're paying for playing for free. Sorry, basically. I had no club, I had no job, and I'm thinking, oh my god, I've got no qualifications. I'd just done 6 months of homeschooling with Bella and Harry, and I said I was going to be a PE teacher before that, and I said I never want to teach again after teaching them too because I couldn't handle it. He went from doing first week was fantastic. I had all the lessons planned out, and then we had half term, and after that I thought, right, we're just baking. We're just going to do bacon or something like that, and it was we've got to play football and count how many goals we score, and then it was just like bored off. I mean, you do your Zoom calls with school, and then. I thought, you know what, I spotted Steve Mark at Rugby Cares, and I thought, I'm going to have to put something on my LinkedIn. I got a LinkedIn page, put it on Facebook, and said, I'm looking for a job. I just put it, I tagged education in it, thinking, well, I'd like to be a PE teacher, but I knew obviously I needed a qualification. And James Law at the time at EdStart, he messaged me, and Chris Irwin, who's had the thankful job of holding Salford together for a few months. He was in EdStart sports coaching, and I really like the idea of going around schools coaching kids. And obviously, you do a lot of promos at Lee, and I love doing stuff like that, going to schools. And James and him were kind of interrogating me in an unofficial interview, trying to get me to education, also trying to get me to do the sports coaching. It was like pulling me to and fro. And I went into my mindset of I want to be a sports coach, and James really sold the education side to me. So I went and got a job at EdStart, working one-to-one with our SEN outreach area. We only had 3 kids in at the time, and there were kids that were struggling. Obviously, they needed to be in school. There's stuff going on in their lives at home, and I fell in love with the job straight away. It was brilliant watching kids people are not having role models, and I'm not saying I'm a perfect role model, but someone who they can talk to away from home and talk about the worries. And I properly really like the pastoral side in it. Did a bit of teaching one-to-one, but I went into there, and obviously that's gone from where it's gone to where I am now, and it just fitted in with part-time rugby. I loved working there, and then going back to I was at Whitehaven at the time, and then obviously the travel was a bit too much with work, and then went to Rochdale, went to Oldham. But I only went to Oldham because Riddy were there. I stayed at Rochdale, and I said this. I had a conversation with Andy Mason the other day, and I said, as much as I respect Oldham as a club, I would have loved to stay at Rochdale and done my time there, and probably that would have been my 4th year there. But I only went to play with Rudy, and
Yes.
it's the bromance that we've got. And I know if I play at the back of him, he makes me look good, and he knows if I do all his running, I make him look good, and we just complement each other. We made that through our careers, and I'll be forever grateful for him because I've played with Kev Brown, Danny Brough, I've played with Joshua Drinkwater, I've played some really, really talented halfbacks, but no one kicking game wise, no one smart wise, even when he's not playing and he's standing sitting watching and we're dissecting video together, or he's talking about training and stuff and what we should do, is you won't not meet a more knowledgeable guy at rugby league. He's one step ahead, and he's not. I always take the mick because he scored that try against Huddersfield, and it must have been played in reverse and slow motion because AJ ran past him 3 times.
Yes.
Um,
AJ must have done 400s.
yeah, I think he had a GPS on that day, AJ, and he must have wanted to get his meters in. But really, and we always take the mick out of him, and he's not been the quickest player. He was when he was younger. He's obviously put a bit of weight on and stuff, and he wasn't
Too
afraid.
many guys with cheese, but I don't blame him.
Yeah, it was them cheese and baguettes he used to have on bus and melting before a game, and then bacon sandwiches he used to have before a game. But he's never been blessed with, as he got older, with his pace. But he's that's always been there, and he's always been 2 or 3 steps ahead of me, and he just makes me look good. And I always made a joke, and then when I scored my 200th career try last year, that he's put me over for 192. He's literally that good. He's looked after me that much, and I probably wouldn't be the player and done what I've done at Lee. As much as Rolls is, that's brilliant, but without him, I wouldn't have done what I've done. He's very and not just rugby wise. He's become a very, very good mate. I would say my best mate. I don't like telling him that because I like taking the mick out of him all the time, but he's always been there for me, and he's one of the first people that took me under the wing at Lee, and he's been like that since, and we've become very close as families, and it's just very grateful to have him in my life, and as well as my rugby league career.
Love that. And obviously, it was Riddy's birthday last week, and basically his Instagram story is made up of all fantastic pictures, by the way, that you'd found of him, and it was brilliant to watch.
I literally have, I think I have about 200 pictures of him, and that was tame to what I could have done to him. And he warned me before the day, he says, and obviously I put the first one up because I was dead excited. I texted him in the morning and said, "Happy birthday, I love today." And he went, "If you put something up, I'm just going to post, never mind if it's your birthday or not, I'm just going to post all these pictures of you on social media." It doesn't bother me because the ones I've got of you are much worse. So he sits at home, and Ruth gets very giddy about it as well, his wife, and she was messaging me saying, "Just do it, just be ruthless with him." And I was like, I'm trying to, but I also want him as my mate as well, but I enjoy it. His birthday is the best day of the year for me.
I love it, mate, love it. And to be fair, obviously, with coming on from the rugby, I think you've almost kind of answered my question about what you do now as a teacher. Like, what is it that you love about teaching? And I think you started to delve into it a little bit then.
Yeah, it's just I did a bit of teaching. I've got no actual qualification for teaching. Actually, I've done a level 4 HLTA, higher level HLTA, and I've just basically where I am now. I've done just from experience and learn on the job, and I'm about to do an MPQ in SEND, working towards the same core qualification. I'm a deputy head now. We've just changed to Infinite Schools, and there's a little plug for Stu Howarth there, our proprietor, Infinite Schools. If you need the contact details, let me know. So a deputy head there, and I do a bit of teaching, and I like everyone says, because you're a good deputy head, you can choose your own timetable and stuff. But I want to be in the classroom.
Yes.
When I first went in, I was covering biology for Stu. I was covering maths, and I'm not knowledgeable. I teach myself before I go in. I have to teach myself lessons before I go in sometimes for certain things, especially maths, because maths wasn't my strongest. I've done English, which I hated English, as you know, because I didn't actually pass it. But I've taught English. I've done PA humanities. I've done it all, and I'm one of those as well. As leaders in our school, we always say you've got to roll your sleeves up, and if you can't stand there and dictate, like as a fullback, I'm not just going to say, "Well, Elliot, you need to go right and make that tackle." If you're not there, I need to come and help you get that tackle. And same in school, I'm very hands-on. I want to be on the shop floor with everyone, and my job is to walk around pastorally and help kids that are struggling and make decisions. But I like teaching and being in the classroom and being with the kids. I don't want them to see me as the well, he's the one that sends me home, or he's the one that makes the negative phone calls, because I'm the one that enjoys making positive ones. I enjoy them learning something in class that they've not learned before, then they want to learn. And they didn't think they could learn, like even just things as a student would never go into class, wouldn't go into maths class, wouldn't. I hate maths. Got into maths, and recently just sat the end of your assessment and got a grade 1, and they're in year 9, and they've done a GCSE, but they've asked to do a GCSE paper and got a grade 1. It's like that. That for me is like scoring a hat trick on your debut. Things like that. I go home from work, and I'm a weirdo like this, but I drive home with no music on, no radio, don't speak to anyone, obviously on the phone or anything, and I just reevaluate my day, because I'm like one of those people that I take work. I don't want to take work home, because it can get, and it can get quite overpowering sometimes, especially with the safeguarding things you go on. You hear things from what's going on for students and stuff, and families, and you think it's heartbreaking, and you can take it home and it can eat you up. Sorry, my dog's going nuts here. But yeah, I actually drive home and just evaluate my day, and I always think of 3 things that I need to work on that they've not gone so well. I think have not gone so well. They probably have in everyone else's eyes gone well, but in my eyes they've not gone so well. And then 3 really, always finish on 3 really positive things that have happened. It might be some kid just saying, "Please, can I have this?" or "Thank you," or basically just coming up and saying hello to me because they fell out with me the day before because I've told them off. Because as you know, kids hold grudges these days, and it's all about knocking their boundaries down. But the kids know that if they come into school and I've told them off or I've sent them home or whatever's happened, the next day it's a clean slate for me. I don't hold no grudges, and I want them to do well in life, and that's the main reason why I'm in the job, because I want them to succeed and me to succeed.
Yeah, 100%. And I think I almost, when anybody asks me like, how do you do it? How do you become a teacher? And I think kind of resonates what you said in terms of I do it because not only do I want them to be academically successful, I want them to be better people. That's what we're
Yeah.
there for. They come and see us for most of their young life. So if we can impart something, that one bit of knowledge, like you say, learning from maybe our mistakes or
Yeah.
just becoming better people, then for me, that's as good as getting that grade 4.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
teach maths, so if they get a grade 4 in my lesson, brilliant. If they can go out into the real world, use the correct manners, the way they articulate with different people, maybe people they don't get on with, or when they disagree with something, they can articulate. That to me is the golden nugget of why we teach and why we do what we do.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. I agree. We've got a lot of, obviously, we're a specialist independent school, and we work with a lot of high need students who, even little things like anxiety wise, don't want to go off site. They don't want to go to a trip. They don't want to go to museums. They don't want to. For instance, we had a student who really didn't want to go. We got to Blackpool every end of every school year, Blackpool Pleasure Beach, and he didn't want to go because he didn't like the loud noises and stuff, and really struggles. And this year he's coped and learned to cope with it, and he's gone this year and he's had a time of his life and he's absolutely loved it. And we're all walking around as staff members, obviously walking around the park and stuff, and I've just got this big grin on my face. I don't like rides. The kids take the mick out of me because student who we were talking about before, he took me on the carousel, the horse carousel, and I thought I'll be all right on this. It's just like a teacups, and I got on it, and it was going fast, getting faster. I said to him, when does it slow? When does it stop? Like getting faster? Because I wasn't holding on properly, because I thought it was just going to be dead. So I was like, I was sat right back, and I was nearly falling off and slipping, and he was laughing his head off, and just little things like that. Because then they realise we're humans and we're not these robots who come into work every day and you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this work, you need to write this down. They understand we're humans, and it's having that boundaries and that breaking that down. Like I tell them everything about rugby. They ask me, they'll come in, have you played this weekend? Have you been training? I tell them everything about Belle and Harry, to the point where an incident happened at school with Harry, and he ended up being in a bit of a scuffle. And I mentioned it, and to some of the students actually said to me, "Greg, what's the name of the other student that happened to him?" Like as if they were going to have Harry's back. And I'm like, I love that, but obviously you can't condone it. But that's the relationships I want to build on, and with family members and stuff like that. We were big on building relationships. If you get them relationship with the students and the kids, teaching them's easy, because they'll literally listen to anything you say, because they understand you, and you're basically another human being.
Like I can't. Again, this is and that's why I've been so glad you've come on to the podcast, because this is one of the massive things of why I'm doing this, is to show that people who've been successful in life are just normal humans.
Yeah.
And especially yourself, being in that education system, being the day-to-day teacher, being on the, like you say, being on the shop floor. I want this to be as we are humans, like we do. We have feelings, we have lives, we have stuff that goes on that we love, we have stuff that goes on that we don't love, and how do we cope with that? And can we impart that knowledge onto our students? And like I said, I've loved listening to you obviously speak about it, because it's nice to hear from another teacher who has that kind of same passion, that same drive to be not only a better teacher but to help students become better people. And I love it, mate. So
yeah, it's like there's stuff that's part of the jobs that are horrible, like when obviously where schools use us and local authorities use us as placements, and sometimes placements break down, and making them phone calls to parents who you've tried your hardest with, and they're trying their hardest with, and unfortunately it breaks down. It breaks my heart, because we've had students in the previous year 11, who's just left, and we had a bit of a leavers meal, and not ashamed to say I cried, because one of the students had been there since my very first day there, and my first day and he used to come in on afters, so we have an after. I used to come in after school at 2:30 till 4, because he couldn't be in school at the time with other kids, and used to chase him around the building. I used to think, you get to 2:30, all the kids have gone home, and you're thinking, right, I've only got a couple of students in now, let's just teach him. And I remember him coming in, I'm thinking, I'm dreading 2:30, because he's just going to run right around this school, because he was struggling. He was struggling, and he had a bad experience of education, and he knew no different to carry on doing that. And he's literally just left year 11, and he sat through every single GCSE exam and tried his hardest, used all his time, being very polite and thankful, and taking revision home, and he wouldn't do any work when I first went there. And it's like, I said, like, I am really going to miss the like what we've done, you being around and watching him grow as a person, not just as a like education. We're in education, they get grades, they're there to help them become better people through grades. But we have a saying that you come to our school, we want you to be a better 16-year-old when you leave, and that's not just A stars or grade 9s, whatever it is now. It's I want you to be able to go in that world and be thankful for people, and be pleasant, be a better person, and not be this little terror that you've kind of come as with a bit of an attitude, and want you to build on that going forward. And he's one of the examples. I mean, the year before we had a couple of students who actually, one of them lived local to me, and I actually taught a sister. I was trained a sister at the rugby team, a coach, and you build his rapport with them, and you're like, you just treat them. I treat all the kids. I always say to them, I wouldn't treat you any different to what I treat my kids. That's how I do it all at school. It's when you're in under our roof, and you're in front of us, is in the classroom, you're in front of our teachers. We all treat you as one of our own, because that's what you have to do. And if they accept you as one of their own, it makes your life easier, because it's not making them eat out your hand and they'll do anything you say, click your fingers and they'll do it. It's just they'll respect you more, and they'll understand, and we understand more, and they understand that we understand, and it's so rewarding. I love the job, because I get, and I'm coming towards the end of my rugby league career now, and I get my kicks now. I used to get my kicks out scoring in front of a packed out LSV. I get my kicks now from work. I love my job. If you asked me to pick a job back in the day, I wouldn't have picked this. But now I'm in it. I absolutely love it, and I won't go anywhere else, and I won't be involved in anything else, because I absolutely love my job. And turning up every day and getting up and knowing that the day is going to be different, because nothing's the same. Nothing's ever the same, and that's what I love about the job. There's different challenges, there's different safeguarding things going on, there's different meetings with local authorities, and you're building relationships with them, and parents, challenging parents, lovely parents as well, who just want the best for the kids. And everyone you meet, and I absolutely love, and I always make a big thing about that. They need to know that they are part of us as a school as well. So we're not just a school, we're a family, and you can come to us at any point, any staff member, especially myself. My office door, when I'm in it, is always open, so the kids know that they can knock on the windows to our receptionist shower, and if they want to speak to me, they can come into my office and have a chat with me about anything they've got once, because I want them to know that I'm there available for them. And sometimes they'll come in, they'll do it to avoid lessons. we've all done it. I did it with Mr. Gaffney and everyone else, and just say, "Oh, I need to go see Mr. Gaffney." But sometimes they need that. Like, we're there for them to get them good grades, but some days they're struggling at home. They just need to come in and release and talk about what they've been doing, and that's what I think a lot of teachers don't understand, and that's why I didn't understand with some teachers growing up that some of them never did that, but some of them did. But as a kid, you don't let them in. Usually, you build that trust, and I had that trust with Mr. Gaffney, but not many other teachers. But I'm a big believer in that. If the kids trust you, I think it just makes your job so much easier, and they'll work alongside you.
That's and I can't agree with you more. And that's I love hearing the passion that you obviously have for the job. And I hope when this podcast goes out, this episode goes out, that I hope your students do come across it and see that the passion for it. And I can't speak highly enough of it. And I've loved listening to what you've had to say about education, because it's nice hearing a former, like you say, a former teammate, a former friend, hearing what you've obviously gone through to where you are now, and the passion you're showing. It's amazing, mate. So
yeah, no, I appreciate that. No, it's good, yeah. But if you're in it for the right reasons, it's one of the most rewarding jobs. And like you said earlier, you're in it for the right reasons. Obviously, I watch your TikToks, and I've been showing my students your TikToks for your revision stuff, and I love stuff like that because no one does it. Like, you've got to get down with the kids these days. Who wants to sit and read a book on a CGP book that tells you how to, I don't know, expand fractions, when you can sit down and do it in a fun way on TikTok in a 20-second video, and the kids can save it and look at the phone. No one's going to walk around with a CGP book, but they'll walk around with the phone. I think technology these days is expanding massively in the kids, and I think education especially is backdated. I don't know if you've seen the picture. They always say that they've got all them animals, and they say you've got to climb that tree, and you've got like a goldfish, you've got an elephant and a monkey, and it's like, well, who's going to be able to climb the tree? Obviously the monkey, so the test doesn't fit all. So you've got to teach them differently as well, and the world's evolving. Obviously there's more diagnosis of ADHD, autism, there's more things coming out, dyscalculia, dyslexia and stuff. And when I was a kid, it was, you just know, you don't get ADHD, you just know it.
yeah,
You are. And obviously the world's evolving, and we've all got to evolve. And I think education needs to use that as well. And like, obviously chat GPT and stuff and things like that's all coming out, and TikTok and using social media to attract kids' attention instead of them, because the kids these days, their attention spans 15 seconds, because they just go vump, 15 seconds vump, 15 seconds vump.
Yeah.
So that's when you're teaching, you've got to break things down even more, because there's no point you standing there explaining something for 20 minutes and then you go, "Do you get that?" And they go, "What?" Because they're not listening. So you've got to break it down, and you've got to go with the times. And like I love you when you did that on TikTok and stuff, and I think more needs to happen for people doing it and getting on board with it.
No, thank you for that, mate. Thank you for that feedback, because I know a lot of people did feedback to me on that, and I love that I've managed to reach out, and
Yeah,
it's
it was
something I want to do
interactive
more
with
and
the kids, like asking them what they want, what you want them to do, what do you want me to do next time. They're reading the comments, and "Oh, you're a legend of a teacher, and I want you to do expanding fractions and brackets and all this," and then you do it, and it's brilliant. Like, I love stuff like that, because education doesn't fit all, and
No.
one shoe doesn't fit all. I always say, like, mainstream's good, but that's why there's places like ourselves, because it doesn't work for everyone, and everyone needs to be taught differently. And I just love stuff like that. It makes me feel good about my job that people are doing that, because it's making my life easier as well.
Love it. So to wrap this up, mate, and I know we could chat forever and ever about our job and how much we love it. To wrap this up, I've got 10 quick fire questions for you.
Yeah.
Now, I know you can be quicker than Riddy, because I know Riddy he did a lot of hard thinking last week.
He thinks on a rugby field, but he's got no common sense off it. I know
that. Brilliant. Right. Question 1, sweet or savoury?
Sweet.
Oh, go to sweet.
Chocolate.
Oh, nice. Best stadium you've played in, number 2?
Ooh. Lee won't like this, but DW.
Oh, nice. Go to karaoke song?
My best one, Erasure, A Little Respect. That's my go-to every time. I actually made a Sun newspaper as well because I read his wedding singing it.
Brilliant. Oh, I seen that, and I forgot to mention it last week too. Love that. Love it. What meal? Number 4. One meal you could eat for the rest of your life.
Pasta.
Oh, any particular or just pasta in general?
Anything creamy, tomatoey, whatever pasta, just pasta. Every Saturday, pasta night in it.
Nice. Number 5. Cats or dogs?
Dogs, I have to say, because he's looking at me. I think he's probably going to rip my head off if I don't say dogs.
I love it. Number 6. Hero. All walks of life. Doesn't matter.
My hero growing up actually was Sean Long. I
Really?
used to have been an halfback. Yeah, my hero was Sean Long. Obviously, as a footballer, it was David Beckham, and I had all the hairstyles. But I also have to say, my hero currently, I have to give him a shout out because he won't like it. Paul Anderson is my hero.
Paul Anderson.
Yeah,
Angry Andor.
Angry Ando is my hero.
Love it. Best player you've played against? Number 7.
Ooh, best player I've played against. Well, I'm going to say Sam Tompkins. I come across a picture. We played him in 2013, the Challenge Cup at DW, and there's a picture of me and him going up for a high bomb. I've caught the ball. I've got the ball, but he's challenging for it. It's one of my favourite forwards. I know, like Logan Tompkins is in it as well, but just because me and Sam are challenging for the ball, but he's just a freak when he's got especially when he played at Wigan, he was an absolute freak, wasn't he? So I'd probably say Sam Tompkins.
Nice. Number 8. Back in time or into the future?
Back in time, I think. If I go back in time, I think I'd be able to teach myself, not just myself, but other people as well, better life lessons. And not that I'd change the current situation or the future by going in the back, but I'd just like to give little tips and
Drop
I guess
in here and there.
yeah, like the Huddersfield thing and stuff like that.
Yeah, love it. Number 9. One piece of advice you always live by?
I like the saying, and we were joking about this the other day with Rudy. I like the saying, get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Nice.
Come out of your comfort zone. I obviously being at Leeds for so many years, that was my comfort zone. And when we got relegated and I had to leave and go to Bradford, I was out of my comfort zone, and I went back to Leeds because it was my comfort zone again. And rugby was my comfort zone. So going into education, I was becoming uncomfortable. So my other saying, like, just get comfortable being uncomfortable and taking it on from there. Now I'm getting comfortable in education, so I don't know if I need to move on and get uncomfortable somewhere else. But
Nah. Every day is a different day
exactly,
in education.
yeah.
You know that. You know
Exactly.
that. Number 10. Last one. One wish. If I could grant you one wish, what would it be?
I would go back to the years at Lee, 100%.
Really?
I would go back to. I relived 2012 all the way. You know what? All the way through to 2017. I did raise. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy my time at Bradford, but I did raise the Bradford time and have it all as one 9-year period, one stint, and or if I had another wish, I'd say we didn't get relegated and we carried on, but we'd still be there for a few more years. But I'd go back to that 2012, 15, 16 season. I absolutely loved that. I know 16 was a bit of a tough period for me because I did my LCL and I was out for 6 months with it, and I wouldn't wish it across worst enemy. It was a pain, and not playing and stuff like that, not being around the lads as much was horrible. But I absolutely loved that. 2015, I reckon. 2014, 15. If I had to pick a year, it would probably be 2015.
Yeah.
Clean. I know it came down as a massive deflation at the end because we'd worked so hard, and everyone said, "Well, we're guaranteeing Super League," and we didn't quite do it in the 8s. But that's probably down to playing every game and the long championship season caught up to us in the end. It's not. And Super League, although you're playing against the worst of teams, your Wakefields and I don't think who else in it, Widnesses at the time, and they were getting battered every week. They were still playing a higher level, and you know what it is. Yeah. It's a one-off game, Challenge Cup, you can raise your game, but you've got to do it for 6 or 7 weeks consistently as well, and we just didn't do it at that time. But if I had one wish, I'd go back to that Lee area and just be in front of that North Stand again. I've always wanted, and my wish as well would be to play one more time in front of that North Stand. But I'm kind of glad and not glad at the same time we've not drawn them in the Challenge Cup because I knew we were going to have to paste them. I've never actually gone back to the LSV and played as an opposition. Since I was there at Whitehaven, and then when I signed at Lee, I never went back and never played.
Wow, never. That's a little oracle stat there for rugby league. Never do that.
I'll give you another one as well. It was the last try scorer at Hilton Park.
It was you. And there's again another famous picture.
Famous picture as well. Yeah.
That gets branded about a bit as well.
It does. I remember Michael Latham used to say it all the time to me, and and it's kind of it's a nice bit of history to have, because obviously it wouldn't have been if I wouldn't have been bothered about it if I didn't come to Leigh and have such a fond memories and live in the town. I wouldn't even be bothered about it. But being involved in such a famous stadium, and you don't realise at the time, but now obviously I'm calling myself an adopted lifer, and being around the town all the time, and it's something I'm really, really proud of. It's one of the proudest things in my rugby league career.
Love it, absolutely love it. And
that was about 15 wishes there, and I apologise.
15 just because it's you and you're an adopted lifer and a bit of Irish blood in you. You're allowed it. You're allowed it, Greg. You know that. And it's honestly, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure having a chat with you tonight and going in all different directions, not only just your rugby career, but the passion you have for teaching. And I hope this comes across. It comes across in this podcast, because you're probably like every teacher in the UK, but we want to show it, and hopefully this comes across. And if your students love it, brilliant. Then they see you in a different light, and I'm happy. I'm happy.
Definitely. It'll go one way or the other. It'll go. Everyone loves it. All the kids love it. Or it'll be 3rd of September. They'll be going, why did you do that podcast and why did you say all them things? Because you don't do that. That's it. Why are you lying all the time?
Love it. So, thank you, Gregg McNally, for episode 5 of Loose Lips with Liku, and hopefully I probably won't be doing any more now because I jet off to Menorca on Sunday. I cannot wait. So, from me, from Greg, thank you for tuning in. Like, subscribe, share. You know the drill. You know what you got to do on YouTube. Okay. Until then, see you soon.